रूप से समाहित है।
Watch me on this show on DD Dialogue in DD India, where we discuss about COVID endemicity, if India has reached an endemic stage.
We examine on the show, are we moving towards an endemic stage now, or are we witnessing another COVID wave in the country? Namaskar and welcome to yet another edition of DD Dialogue. I'm Sakal Bhatt. And today on the show, we take a stock of the COVID situation in India in particular and ascertain the reasons that are attributed to certain spike in cases in India specifically. We examine on the show, are we moving towards an endemic stage now despite the increase in cases, or are we witnessing another COVID wave in the country? In medical terms, viewers, an infection becomes an endemic when the rates become static in a given geographical location. That is, the pathogen causing the disease is likely to remain in circulation without causing large outbreaks. So does it mean that the virus has become a part of the population's regular disease cycle? Pretty much like flu, like you have flu or viral in India. Does it also mean that people may have to learn to live with the coronavirus in the long term and measures will have to be put in place to keep the virus under control while allowing daily life to continue? So on DD Dialogue, we are joined by a very specialized panel of doctors specifically in the COVID treatment. We are very glad to introduce on DD Dialogue, welcoming Dr. Edmund Fernandez. He's Director, Edward and Scindia Institute of Public Health, Bangalore. All of you, thank you very much. Okay, so how closely are we watching genomic sequencing, Dr. Edmund? And you would also like to clarify your stand whether you think we are approaching the endemic stage or not.
Yeah, so basically, unfortunately, in terms of the classification, you're looking at pandemics or endemic. India is right now in that bridge phase, which is neither a pandemic nor an endemic, but somewhat a middle ground in terms of how the variants of this virus is starting to shape. So my submission would be that yes, it's neither a pandemic anymore, nor is it a fully endemic kind of COVID-19 disease. But the consolation in this whole process is that the government of India has taken a good stand in terms of vaccination. We've scaled it up to the last mile, and at least we are protected and better out of other countries because of the vaccination part of it. Now, whether we look at COVID in terms of an evolving kind of disease, the critical bone of contention out here is to look at COVID as a way of life. We can't paralyze anymore the economy. We can't look at it in isolated fragments. This has to be a disease that is tackled right at the war footing.
But at that point, internalizing, what do you mean when you say looking at COVID as a way of life? I mean, as a new normal that you have to live with it?
Let me remind you that modern medicine has been in search of its holy grail for centuries now. We have not even found a cure for common cough or common cold. So what are we trying to look at? If we are trying to make COVID a very big deal kind of thing, I think we are misplacing the citizenry honestly. We would have to, it's 3 years now. So looking at COVID as a way of life, living with it, taking the safety nets that are possible is the right way forward, is my submission.
Okay, COVID as a way of life, that's quite an interesting point, Dr. Rena. Dr. Edwin, so has it become a more manageable public health issue, or are we just blowing it out of proportion?
Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Gilada because he quoted me saying that it's probably a double standard observation, but he finally answered it himself as well. So thank you very much. When I meant as a way of life, it's for the civilian population to live with COVID as a way of life. And what I meant with the war footing is for healthcare providers, for infectious disease epidemiologists, for lab scientists, to be on the war footing, to be on our watchguard, on our vanguard, to understand mutations, sequencing in genomes, and what could be a possible way of concern, which people like Professor Raina could at the ICMR levels then escalate what is required for the public and what is not required, and which can remain within the medical community. Now, what is a matter of particular concern to me is that we have hyped COVID over 3 years, that it's ingrained in even in our inherent memories now. Every day in India, we have 400 people dying on the roads because of road accident. That's okay. We have people dying from cancer every day. That's okay. You have people who've been dying because of tuberculosis, malaria, ischemic heart disease. That's perfectly fine. In December, I trended the heart attack aspect on Twitter. People started getting worried of why younger people are getting heart attack. But if there are few and handful of deaths in different pockets, that to build on the comorbid conditions of an individual, there is suddenly a media panic. People are then talking about it. Knee-jerk policies are coming out. I was surprised because I was due to also travel to Japan, and then Japan has put in a policy saying that you don't enter Japan if you don't have a booster dose or if you have an RT-PCR. And strangely, the Indian government has removed from all our airports the RT-PCR, which can deliver real-time results, and it's only in different selected labs. So different countries all around the world are approaching COVID in their own customized fashion, whereas truthfully, as healthcare providers and global health professionals, we would need to tell the people that yes, it's been 3 years, let this be a way of life. If there is a point where we need to ring an alarm bell, we do it very diligently without triggering the kind of panic that now is happening all around.
Okay. Dr. Edmond, 3 seconds. I need to wrap it up here. Yeah.
With all humility, I think uncertainty is the only certainty that we all collectively face as children of this world. While all of us have had different kinds of viewpoints, let us remember that health is not stethoscope and pills alone. Everybody has to do their job, do their duty diligently, and we will get there together. Thank you.
Okay. On that note, well, I'm glad that we started with a very different set of opinions on this question of whether we are looking at an endemic stage or not. But finally, we have managed to come on a common ground. That is that risk communication needs to be ramped up, community engagement needs to be ramped up, as pointed out by Dr. Sunila. We need to be more watchful of the situation on ground, and we don't have to really let our guards down as a community. This is our bit. This is something that we can do. Thank you very much, my wonderful panelists, for joining us on DD Dialogue. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunila. Thank you very much, Dr. Gilada. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Edmond. And thank you, Dr. Raina. With that, thank you very much for joining us on DD Dialogue. We'll be back with more next time. Namaskar.